In this video, we'll look at how to get the best deal when buying a house and all the factors related to it, such as financing, savings, choosing a real estate agent, and more. That's starting right now.
Welcome to Home Buyers School, brought to you by Brookfield Residential.
Hi everyone, I'm Carl. Welcome to another Home Buyer School video, a channel where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and tips from home buying experts. And remember, if this is your first time on this channel and you want to get the latest strategies from the experts, hit the subscription button below, hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. So today I'm joined by Kevin French, realtor with Remax Realty. And the question we're going to answer today is, how do I get the best deal when buying a house? So Kevin, how do I get that?
So there's a handful of avenues.
Yes.
First, financially, you're going to typically have a mortgage on the property. When you have a mortgage, you're going to want to shop for the best rate. I would encourage people to work with a mortgage broker. You can work with a mortgage specialist at the bank specifically. However, often they don't voluntarily give you the best rate. So having a mortgage broker, they can work with numerous different lenders and then shop those lenders to get, it's more competitive, and then you're more likely to get a better rate, save on that. And then understanding the market that you're purchasing within. So if you're buying a brand new property, understanding the new competition in the area. Obviously you should just be comparing primarily to that. And then if you're purchasing resale, again, understanding the competition in the area so that you're not overpaying. From there, you're going to want to negotiate the best deal possible. So that's understanding what the negatives are about the property, whether it's location, the condition, a combination of that and a handful of other things. And then you're going to comprise a list. Understand as much as you can, understand the position as to why the home is being sold, and then use that to your advantage, and then negotiate down on the price from there.
So let's go right back to, I guess, choosing your mortgage broker or choosing your realtor. I'm sure that could have a significant impact in terms of getting the best deal when buying a house, right? Obviously choosing the right realtor and obviously choosing the right mortgage professional.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's a handful of different tactics that different realtors use when purchasing a property and in their negotiation. How experienced somebody is will typically work well with their negotiation skills. If somebody doesn't sell a lot of real estate or they do it part-time, they usually don't have a stronger understanding of how to go about it. And then understanding the market that the buyer's purchasing with, and understanding the community, and then working with that. If it has negatives for the property that aren't seen as a negative for the buyer, then the agent can work with those facts and then negotiate a better price.
And I know you mentioned comparing mortgage rates. And if you want to know more about it, comparing mortgage rates, where we actually talk to a mortgage professional, check out our video above and in the description below. So let's talk about savings. Like how does your savings impact the best deal when you're buying a house? I guess, like, would you get a better deal if you save just 5% down or 20% down? Does that impact?
Yeah, so if you put 5% down, you're going to pay anything less than 20%, you're going to pay insurance premiums. The insurance premiums are going 5% increments. So 5% down, obviously the minimum, you have to pay an insurance premium. I believe it's just around 4%. So essentially you're putting down 1%. If you put down 10%, then that drops to, I believe, 3.15%. And if you put down 15, it's 2.85%. And then if you put down 20, then that insurance premium just disappears. So obviously significant savings, depends on the price of the property, but not paying that premium is a pretty big advantage.
And let's look at the difference between buying a new home build and a resale home. So for a resale home, I think you have to actually think about, like, is it a fixer-upper, or is it like you can actually, it's just ready to move into and you can live for the next 5-10 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah, factor that in. There is the opportunity as well to do a purchase plus improvements mortgage. So if you did want to buy a property that needs some light improvements that would increase the value, you could look at that. The lender would give you financing for that.
Oh, okay.
So they give you financing for the improvements, typically up to $40,000 to $60,000 is where it's capped at. You can't renovate the entire property with that budget usually, but it gives you the opportunity to maybe redo the kitchen or redo the roof and the windows if those are important things that need to be done.
Okay, and let's look about a new home build. How about the upgrades? How do you factor that into getting the best deal for the home?
Yeah, builders often, of course, if they charge you, $5,000 for granite, they don't pay $5,000 for that granite. They get, bigger contracts and they get better rates. So that might be a way to get some things included in the home that are luxuries or added-ons that the buyer wants. but then the builder can give it to them because it's less of a cost. Although it's perceived as $20,000 in value, for example, to the buyer, the reality is that the cost might be a lot less than that. So the builder might be more willing to negotiate on something like that rather than directly off the price of the property.
And remember, if you want to know more about choosing the best home upgrades for resale, check out our video above and in the description below. How about off-peak or times of the year? Does that impact being able to get the best deal? Like, is it better to maybe buy in the winter when less people are buying? Or I know like sometimes maybe the spring or the fall is a great time to buy, but when no one's buying, maybe in the summer.
Yeah, the best time to sell is going to be the spring and the fall. Best time to buy, there's also more opportunities in the spring and the fall. So there's more options to choose from. So that has its advantages. Of course, in the winter, when there's less activity, the properties sit on the market for longer periods of time. You might be able to take advantage of something there if the seller is motivated or highly motivated to sell. But a negative side to that too is you can't properly inspect the property if it's covered in snow. You can't see the backyard. There's a lot of things that you don't get to fully understand about the property when you're purchasing it. So there's downsides to it, but if you catch the right buyer at the right seller at the right time, there might be a better opportunity.
And how about basements? I've heard a lot about like, should a home come with a basement? Does it increase the value? Does that impact on how to getting the best deal for the home?
Basements are one of those things that are often done for the homeowner. So if you're going to develop your basement, it's for your benefit. Don't expect to make money on it when you sell. If you hire a contractor, of course, those ranges can vary in the cost. Typically, you're going to break even or lose some money. If you're very thrifty and you have friends and family that can help, or you can do some of the work yourself, I would encourage you to always permit it, of course. And then when the work is done, you could make a bit. But usually on the whole, you're doing the basement for yourself, or if it costs you $20,000, you're going to see a $20,000 gain in the property. It does make the property more attractive on the market though. If it has a bedroom and a bathroom, that's key. But if it has a bedroom and a bathroom and the neighboring property is maybe you can be 15,000 under them and you have that and they don't, it's going to give you an edge.
Got it. And then finally, is there a way to negotiate? I know there's lots of ways to negotiate for the price of the home, but is there a way to negotiate maybe closing costs?
Not as common, but I guess you could. Anything's negotiable, of course, in the sale of the property. An interesting negotiation tactic, for example, that we're seeing more of right now, it depends on the agent and their experience with it, but is asking the listing agent or the seller essentially to send a reverse offer. So instead of you submitting an offer asking to buy the property, they're at 500, you offer 470, and then you negotiate down from there. You say, well, if you're telling me that you're motivated, send me a reverse offer. Send me an offer that's under your list price, and we'll negotiate up from my number instead of down from their number. Gives the buyer a little more control.
Great. Do you have any more tips in terms of getting the best deal when buying a house?
Stick with facts, not emotion, and offer a realistic price. Initially to set the bar. Obviously that price you're going to be expected to increase from it as they're going to be expected to decrease from theirs, but don't go in with an insulting offer. Whether we want to or not, it brings in emotion from the seller side that typically starts off on negative footing. If you bring in a realistic offer that's with sound facts and stick with your reason and your logic behind it, keep drilling that into them, and then eventually the sellers will understand where you're coming from and understand why they should accept that offer.
Great. So the question of the day I have for you is, did you get the best deal, or did you think you get the best deal on your last home purchase? And if so, how? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you want to know more about negotiating the price of your home, check out this video as well as our other home buying videos here. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to ensure you get information straight from home buying experts. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in our next video.